Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went there in the first place? Or maybe you are in the middle of a conversation and a familiar name just vanishes from the tip of your tongue, leaving you frustrated and embarrassed. It is a feeling that sends a cold shiver down the spine of almost everyone over the age of 60. We often brush these moments off as just senior moments or the inevitable decline of aging. But what if I told you that your brain might not be permanently broken, but simply starving? What if that mental fog and those lapses in memory are actually a cry for help from a brain that is desperate for a specific fuel it is not getting? Here is a shocking reality that most doctors will not tell you during a standard checkup. Research suggests that nearly 90% of seniors are starving their brains of a critical nutrient. By age 70, the average person may have lost significant brain volume, not necessarily because of genetics or bad luck, but because of a dietary mistake we make 3 times a day. Imagine your brain is like a high-performance engine. For years, you might have been pouring the wrong fuel into the tank, causing the gears to grind and the engine to sputter. But the good news is that it is not too late to change the fuel. In this conversation, we are going to uncover the critical fat that your brain is likely screaming for and the hidden dietary habits that are silently shrinking your cognitive power. We are going to talk about how you can turn the lights back on in your mind. Before we dive into the solution, I want to welcome you to our community. If you care about staying healthy, sharp, and independent well into your golden years, consider subscribing to our channel. We share the kind of deep dive health tips that can truly change your trajectory. And I have a quick question for you. Are you watching this from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, or somewhere else entirely? Please drop a comment below and let me know where you call home, because I am always fascinated to see how far our senior health family reaches across the globe. Now, let us get to the heart of the matter. To understand why your brain might be starving, we first need to understand what the brain actually is. We tend to think of it as a muscle, but biologically speaking, the brain is actually the fattiest organ in your body. It is composed of nearly 60% fat. This is not the fat that sits around your waistline that we try to burn off. This is structural fat. It forms the membrane of every single cell in your brain. Think of these cell membranes like the walls of a house. When the walls are strong and flexible, the doors and windows open easily, allowing messages to flow in and out at lightning speed. That is what happens when you are young and your brain is rich in the right kind of fat. But here's the problem. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at holding onto these fats, and our modern diets have almost completely stripped them away. The specific fat we are talking about is DHA, or Docosahexaenoic acid. It is an omega-3 fatty acid that acts as the primary building block for your brain cells. When you do not get enough of it, your brain physically shrinks. It is a process called cerebral atrophy. Imagine a grape turning into a raisin. That is essentially what happens to a brain starved of DHA. The connections between neurons become brittle and slow. That is why you might feel that processing information takes longer than it used to, or why multitasking feels overwhelming. The first major issue we need to address is not just what you are not eating, but what you are eating that blocks this critical fat from doing its job. We have to talk about the industrial seed oils sitting in your pantry right now. I am talking about soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, and sunflower oil. For decades, we were told these were heart-healthy alternatives to butter and lard. But new research and a deeper understanding of biochemistry reveal a darker truth. These oils are incredibly high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, you need some omega-6s to survive, but the balance is key. Ancestrally, humans ate a ratio of about 1-to-1 between omega-6 and omega-3. Today, the average diet has a ratio of 20-to-1 or even higher in favor of inflammatory omega-6s. When you flood your system with these seed oils, you are essentially creating a state of low-grade chronic inflammation. Think of it like a slow-burning fire in the basement of your house. You might not see the flames immediately, but over time, the structural integrity of the house weakens. When this inflammation reaches the brain, it is called neuroinflammation. It makes the cell membrane stiff and rigid. Remember those doors and windows we talked about earlier? When the membranes are stiff, the doors get stuck. Neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which regulate your mood and memory, cannot get through effectively. So you might find yourself feeling more anxious, down, or simply foggy. This is why the first step to feeding your brain is to stop poisoning it with these inflammatory oils. Next time you are at the grocery store, flip over the bottle of salad dressing or that box of crackers. If you see soybean or corn oil listed, I want you to put it back on the shelf. It is a small act of rebellion that protects your brain. You might be thinking, okay, I will cut out the bad oils, but how do I get this critical DHA fat back into my brain? This brings us to the most potent source of brain fuel on the planet, and that is fatty fish. We often hear about salmon, but it goes beyond just that. We are talking about cold water fatty fish like mackerel, sardines, anchovies, and herring. These fish are loaded with preformed DHA. This means your body does not have to work hard to convert it. It goes straight to your brain and starts repairing those cell walls. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine your brain cells are like a vast network of highways. Over time, without maintenance, potholes develop and some roads get blocked. When you eat a meal rich in these fatty fish, it is like sending out a road repair crew. The DHA patches the holes and smooths the tarmac so that the cars, which are your thoughts and memories, can zoom by at full speed again. There was a fascinating study that looked at seniors who consumed seafood regularly versus those who did not. The difference was staggering. The seafood eaters had brains that looked years younger on scans. They had more gray matter volume in the areas responsible for memory and learning. I know some of you might be worried about mercury, and that is a valid concern. That is why the smaller the fish, the better. Think of the acronym SMASH: salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. These fish are low on the food chain, so they do not accumulate high levels of toxins, but they are packed with the gold standard of brain fats. If you can incorporate these into your diet just 2 or 3 times a week, you are literally building a better brain. And here is a pro tip. If you find the taste of sardines too strong, try mashing them up with some avocado and lemon juice on a piece of toast. The creaminess of the avocado, which is another great brain, fat masks the fishiness and gives you a double dose of neuroprotection. This brings up an interesting point about plant-based sources. I often hear from people who say, I eat walnuts and flax seeds every day, so I am getting my omega-3s right. Well, yes and no. This is a trap that many well-meaning seniors fall into. Walnuts and flax seeds contain a type of omega-3 called ALA. While ALA is healthy, the human body is very inefficient at converting it into DHA, the form your brain desperately needs. The conversion rate can be as low as 1% or even less as we age. So while a handful of walnuts is a fantastic snack for your heart and gut, relying on it as your sole source of brain fuel is like trying to fill a swimming pool with a thimble. You simply will not get enough to reverse the starving process. By all means, keep eating walnuts, but view them as a side dish, not the main course for brain health. If you are finding these tips useful so far, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps spread the word to other seniors who might be struggling with the same issues. And if you have not yet, do subscribe for more little-known health insights, because we are just getting started on this list, and the next few points might surprise you even more. Now, let us talk about a beverage that acts as a delivery system for these nutrients. You can eat all the right fats, but if you are dehydrated, your brain cannot function. The brain is 80% water. Even mild dehydration can shrink brain tissue and mimic the symptoms of dementia. But here's the twist. I am not just telling you to drink plain water. I want to introduce you to the concept of green tea. Green tea is a powerhouse for the aging brain. It contains an amino acid called L-theanine, which promotes relaxation without drowsiness. But more importantly, it contains catechins, which are antioxidants that cross the blood-brain barrier. Think of your brain metabolism like a busy factory. As it works, it produces waste products or exhaust fumes called free radicals. If these build up, they cause oxidative stress, which rusts your brain cells. Green tea acts like a specialized cleaning crew that sweeps away this rust. When you combine the hydration of the tea with the anti-inflammatory properties of the catechins, you create a pristine environment for your brain cells to thrive. Try swapping your second cup of coffee for a cup of green tea. You might notice a calmer, sharper focus within days. We have talked about adding good fats and hydration, but there is a silent thief that steals brain power, and it is likely hiding in your breakfast. We need to talk about refined sugar and high glycemic carbohydrates. You might not associate sugar with brain starvation, but the connection is profound. When you eat a diet high in sugar or refined carbs like white bread and pastries, you constantly spike your blood sugar. Over time, this leads to insulin resistance. You have heard of insulin resistance in the body causing type 2 diabetes, but researchers are now calling Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes. Here's why. Brain cells need glucose for fuel, but they need insulin to help that glucose get inside the cell. If your brain cells become resistant to insulin, they cannot absorb the fuel they need. They literally starve to death, even if your blood is full of sugar. It is a tragic irony. You are overfed, but your brain is starving. This is why cutting down on sugar is one of the most powerful things you can do for your cognitive longevity. You do not have to eliminate sweetness entirely, but try switching to natural sources like berries. Blueberries in particular are often called brain berries. They are low in sugar but high in flavonoids, which have been shown to delay brain aging by up to 2.5 years. Let me share a quick story about a man I will call Robert. Robert was 72 and he was terrified. He was forgetting names and he felt like he was living in a fog. He thought it was the beginning of the end. He went to see a functional medicine doctor who looked at his diet. Robert was starting every day with a bagel and orange juice, and for dinner he often had pasta. His diet was almost entirely inflammatory carbs and seed oils with zero healthy fats. The doctor put him on a protocol similar to what we are discussing. He cut the carbs, added sardines 3 times a week, and started taking a high-quality fish oil supplement. Within 3 months, Robert said it felt like someone had wiped a dirty windshield. He could see clearly again. His energy returned and his memory sharpened. It was not magic. It was biology. He simply stopped starving his brain and started feeding it. Now, I want to address a component that often gets overlooked because it is not a food, but it is critical for how your brain uses fat. That is oxygen and blood flow. You can have all the DHA in the world, but if it cannot reach the brain cells, it is useless. As we age, our blood vessels can become stiff and narrow. This condition limits the delivery of oxygen and nutrients. This is where the miracle molecule nitric oxide comes in. Nitric oxide relaxes blood vessels and opens them up, increasing blood flow. How do you boost this? Surprisingly, the answer lies in beets and leafy greens like arugula and spinach. These foods are rich in dietary nitrates, which your body converts to nitric oxide. But here is a fascinating detail. The conversion starts in your mouth with the bacteria on your tongue. If you use harsh antiseptic mouthwash every day, you might be killing the good bacteria that help your brain get blood flow. It sounds crazy, but skipping the harsh mouthwash, eating a salad with arugula and beets could be the key to better brain circulation. Imagine your blood vessels opening up like a highway, adding extra lanes during rush hour, allowing all that good omega-3 fat to rush straight to your neurons. Let us move on to a controversial topic, eggs. For years, we were told to avoid eggs because of cholesterol, but the yolk of the egg is one of the most nutrient-dense foods for the brain. It contains choline. Choline is the precursor to acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that is critical for memory and learning. In fact, many Alzheimer's drugs work by trying to stop the breakdown of acetylcholine. Nature gives us a source in the egg yolk. Choline is like the grease that keeps the gears of your memory turning smoothly. If you have been throwing away the yolks and eating only egg whites, you are throwing away the brain food. Unless you have a specific allergy or a specific medical instruction from your doctor, do not fear the yolk. Soft boiled or poached is best to preserve the fats. I also want to touch on something that adds flavor to your life. and health to your brain. Turmeric. You have probably heard of it, but do you know how to use it correctly? Turmeric contains curcumin, which is a potent anti-inflammatory compound that can cross the blood-brain barrier and has been shown to reduce the plaques associated with Alzheimer's. However, curcumin is poorly absorbed on its own. If you just sprinkle turmeric on your food, most of it stays in your gut. To unlock its power, you need to pair it with black pepper and a fat like olive oil. The piperine in black pepper increases the absorption of curcumin by 2,000%. So next time you are roasting vegetables, toss them in olive oil, turmeric, and black pepper. You are creating a medicinal meal that tastes delicious and fights neuroinflammation. Now, I want to pause for a second. I know this can feel like a lot of information. You might be thinking, do I have to change everything I eat tomorrow? Absolutely not. The goal here is progress, not perfection. If you try to overhaul your entire life overnight, you will likely get overwhelmed and quit. Start with one thing. Maybe this week you just swap your vegetable oil for olive oil. Next week, you try to have a fatty fish dinner on Tuesday and Friday. Small, consistent steps are what build a strong foundation. Speaking of olive oil, let us give it the spotlight it deserves. Extra virgin olive oil is a staple of the Mediterranean diet, which is consistently ranked the best diet for brain health. It is not an omega-3, but it is packed with polyphenols, specifically one called oleocanthal. This compound mimics the effects of ibuprofen, reducing inflammation throughout the body, but without the side effects on your stomach. It protects the brain cells from oxidative damage. Think of it as a shield. When you pour high-quality olive oil over your salad or vegetables, you are coating your cells in a protective armor that deflects the arrows of aging. But quality matters. Look for oil that is in a dark glass bottle and has a harvest date on it. Light and heat destroy the delicate polyphenols, so keep it in a cool, dark cupboard. Another vital piece of the puzzle is vitamin D. While technically a hormone, we get it from sunlight and certain fatty foods. Low levels of vitamin D are strongly linked to an increased risk of dementia. Receptors for vitamin D are found throughout the brain, specifically in the hippocampus, which is the memory center. If you are deficient, it is like trying to run a solar-powered calculator in a dark room. It just does not work well. Since many seniors do not absorb sunlight as efficiently and spend more time indoors, getting your levels checked is crucial. If you are low, supplementing can be a game changer for your mood and cognitive function. Let us recap the strategy so far, because I want you to walk away with a clear plan. We are avoiding the inflammatory seed oils and refined sugars that set the brain on fire. We are adding in the critical DHA fat through fatty fish or algae oil supplements if you are vegetarian. We are boosting blood flow with beets and greens, and we are protecting ourselves with the antioxidants in berries and olive oil. It is a simple formula. Remove the harm and add the healing. I also want to mention the role of intermittent fasting, or just giving your digestion a break. Dr. William Li often talks about the body's ability to regenerate. When you are constantly eating, your body is focused on digestion. When you take a break, say by not eating for 12 hours between dinner and breakfast, your body switches into repair mode. This is when a process called autophagy happens. Autophagy literally means self-eating, but in a good way. Your body cleans out the junk cells and broken proteins that clutter up the brain. It is like taking out the trash. If you never stop eating, the trash piles up. Try to finish your dinner by 7 p.m. and do not eat breakfast until 7 a.m. That 12-hour window gives your brain a chance to do its nightly housekeeping. Midway through all this advice, I want to remind you of something important. Your body is incredibly resilient. I have seen people in their 80s make dietary changes and see improvements in their balance, their memory, and their zest for life. It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that decline is inevitable, but biology is dynamic. Your cells are constantly turning over. The brain cells you have today are being repaired by the food you ate yesterday. By changing what you put on your fork, you are literally building a new brain for tomorrow. So let us put this into a practical day in the life. Imagine waking up and having a glass of water to hydrate that 80% water brain. For breakfast, instead of sweet cereal, you have 2 eggs with spinach sauteed in a little olive oil. For lunch, a big salad with greens, walnuts, and a piece of leftover salmon dressed with olive oil and lemon. For a snack, a square of dark chocolate. Yes, dark chocolate is great for blood flow, and a cup of green tea. And for dinner, a simple stew with lean protein and lots of colorful vegetables, turmeric and black pepper. That sounds delicious, doesn't it? It does not feel like a diet of deprivation. It feels like a diet of abundance. You are feeding your body the luxury fuel it deserves. It might feel a bit unsettling to learn that some of your favorite foods might have been causing harm, but remember, knowledge is power. Now that you know, you can make simple choices to protect your health. You do not need to be perfect. Even cutting down that daily intake of sugar can spare your brain a lot of stress. You might start to notice less stiffness in the mornings and more clarity in your conversations once you make these swaps. Imagine being the person at the dinner table who remembers every detail of the story from 20 years ago. Imagine learning a new skill or picking up a new hobby with ease. That is the difference these small tweaks can make over time. We have covered the critical fat, which is DHA, found in fatty fish. We have covered the villains, which are seed oils and sugar. We have covered the supporting cast of olive oil, berries, greens, and spices. This is your toolkit for cognitive survival. It is all about giving your body what it needs and avoiding the sneaky things that cause harm. Now, as we come to the end of this video, I want to leave you with a final thought. I know getting older is hard. The aches, the pains, the fear of losing your independence, it can be scary and discouraging. Sometimes it feels like your own body is betraying you, but you are not alone in this, and it is not too late to turn things around. Every small step you take, every better food choice you make, every good habit you build is strengthening your brain and your future freedom. One meal, one step at a time. You are taking charge of your health. You are not a passive victim of aging. You are the captain of your ship. Remember, your body is always trying to heal and strengthen itself. It wants to be healthy. All we have to do is get out of its way and give it the right tools. Growing older might be inevitable, but growing weaker and losing your memory doesn't have to be. With the right habits, you can stay strong, mobile, and sharp. Now I would love to hear from you. Which of these tips surprised you the most? Was it the truth about vegetable oils, or maybe the importance of egg yolks? Do you have any personal experiences with changing your diet and feeling better? Share your story or any questions in the comments below. I read every single one, and we all learn from each other. Your experience might be the encouragement someone else needs to make a change today. And what change are you going to make after watching this? Are you going to buy a bottle of quality olive oil? Are you going to try sardines? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, or if it opened your eyes even a little, please hit the like button. It means a lot, and it helps other seniors find this life-changing information. And do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on important health insights that could improve your life. We have plenty more science-backed tips for thriving in your golden years, because your health and independence are worth fighting for. If you are still with me and you are determined to stay strong and keep your brain sharp, type a number 1 in the comments to affirm it. It is a small gesture of commitment to yourself. Stay strong, stay healthy, and remember, your independence is carried by your legs and directed by your brain. Keep taking those small steps for your health. They add up to giant strides in your freedom. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.